The new Arathi Empire. Now, new and Arathi Empire, do those really go together? The Arathi Empire is actually the most ancient of human empires, the first to unite all of the human warring tribes in Azeroth. It was a big empire, a powerful empire, and then it ceased to exist as it split up into the human kingdoms that we know and love today. The Emperor, known as the Light Emperor, supposedly on the other side of Azeroth right now, holding together that ancient Arathi Empire, wants to bring his empire back to mainland Azeroth. 11.1.7 seems to be hinting at this whole new Arathi Empire that's coming back. Let's see what Doran has figured out about all this new lore.
New patch just came out of the PTR. A new organization called the Red Dawn in the Arathi Highlands, formed from the former Scarlets, the Defias, and the Syndicate, are working on reclaiming the old Arathi Empire and restoring human rule to this ancient land. At the same time, we've learned that the Light Empire and the Emperor is not tolerant at all, super light devoted, insanely powerful, very likely they're sending expeditions to other planets, and once they come, and they will, I don't think they will like the fact that the undead, Worgen, and orcs are ruling over most of their former homeland. So, what is this new information, and what is everything we know? If you want anything Warcraft related, Gamivo has the best.
Okay, yeah, use Gamivo. I'm excited for this new lore. You guys know, I'm a human Andy. Okay, I play my human character. I love playing human characters. It's my favorite way to play the game. I'm excited for some new human lore. This Arathi stuff is going to be very, very cool, I think.
At Gamivo. So, by now you must have seen the storyline of the patch 11.1.7 because it's literally called the Legacy of Arathor, and as you would imagine, it is mainly about Stormguard, some minor Horde and Alliance tension, but mainly it is about this new organization called the Red Dawn, which I feel like is a huge setup for Midnight, but everyone is mainly talking about the storyline that is present, which is not really that big of a deal. If you've seen the Heartland novella that came out around the release of the War Within, it added some storyline about tensions happening in the Arathi Highlands, which is something I've really been talking about for years now, since the Shadowlands, if you followed my channel.
He's talking about a setup for Midnight, and I'm sure it is going to play a role in Midnight, but the whole thing for me is I actually think this is setting up the whole Light Emperor storyline, which is actually going to lead us into the expansions following the whole, what's it called, World Soul Saga. I think once the World Soul Saga comes to an end, this whole other side of Azeroth is going to become a thing.
Always use
Tundra, 29 months. Oh my God, 29 months of subbing.
29 months.
Yes, thank you, man. Death Knight of our Scourge and mod to the channel. Here's the thing. I think this is setting up this whole other side of Azeroth, WoW2-esque, you know, continuation after the World Soul Saga ends. And what I mean by WoW2-esque is basically they're going to create continent-size shit going on the other side of the world in all the new engines and all of its new glory, the way World of Warcraft looks today. So you can imagine basically an Eastern Kingdom's Kalimdor-sized continents on the other side of Azeroth that we've never discovered, and that becomes our new playground for the next couple expansions. That's where I think all this is leading, and the first seeds of this new Arathi Empire, Light Emperor, other side of Azeroth, and all that shit is finally being planted here in 11.1.7.
Arathi Highlands are said to be very important in this rule.
Tassa, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
We'll likely get revamped Stormguard, as well as a big update to the entire zone, as all of this will be super relevant. There's a pretty big questline combined with this, and personally, I do think it is a little bit cheesy and really not that interesting. Most people are expecting that this will be like a big spark for the Horde and Alliance conflict, because Blizzard did hint at it happening, but instead I'll sum it up like super quick. There's like a faction of the Arathi that don't like the Horde presence in their home, and they don't like Dana Trollbane leading, so they start wreaking havoc, they're infiltrating, stealing weapons, doing all sorts of stuff to get rid of Danet and get rid of the Horde. Ultimately, they all get defeated. We learned that there is no...
They sound like a Scarlet Monastery-esque group, don't they? Yeah, like we don't like this. You know, we're more purists. We don't like this Horde shit showing up in our lands.
No room for hate, which honestly I feel like is super cheesy. I mean, let's be real, the Arathi are definitely justified to not want the Horde there, as literally a few decades ago they stole their land and attempted to eliminate them in entirety. However, that is besides the point. I really want to talk about how this place is riddled with hints about the new Arathi Empire, the big one, the one that we'll get to discover, and the
one that I think
is
coming.
Are definitely going to be coming here soon. If you watch my previous videos, I talked about how the new Arathi are very similar to the Scarlet Crusade, but actually powerful, and how if they came to our lands, they will have the perfect allies to conquer their old territory. back in the day, a few thousand years ago, there existed the Arathi Empire, which was very powerful. From this empire, pretty much all the humans originated, all the various kingdoms across the Eastern Kingdoms. However, before this known split happened, a portion of the humans and the elves of Quotalas decided to embark on a journey across the sea, and they formed a colony. The thing is...
Okay, that makes the human and the elves went across the sea and they started fucking. That's why all these Hallowfall humans have the pointy ears and everything else. That's the half-elf, half-human shit going down. So the whole thing about this Light Emperor and everything, and what I've been wondering, is the Scarlets seem to be, you know, somewhat mentally aligned with what this guy wants. He wants to basically purge the world of everything and keep it pure and all that stuff. Interestingly enough, I don't think this Light Emperor, anybody who comes from this new... Arathi Empire on the other side of the world is really, I guess, pure, because I think they're all half-elves. I think that's the way this whole population works. Now, we've seen it in Hallowfall. That's what they look like. A lot of them are half-elves. But I'm wondering, are all of the humans on this new Arathi Empire half-elves? Because the original one in the what's it called, Arathi Basin or whatever, they're not. They're not. They're all just pure human blood. So I wonder how all that's going to work and how the Scarlets would feel about that if they found out this Light Emperor is actually a half-elf.
We don't really know what happened and whether this really was a colony, because these guys just consider themselves the Arathi Empire. They don't really think they're an offshoot of it.
Yeah, like pointy ears are an option now.
No, their Emperor Thoradin the Ninth sees himself as the true emperor of the real and never destroyed Arathi Empire. All it is old lore, but if you missed it, we got some crazy hints very recently. First of all, we learned that they're super powerful, rich, they don't like the races we keep company of, they seem very fanatical, light devoted, they're also super technologically advanced, they understand cosmology. Keep in mind, like, this is a super intricate and powerful settlement that we can see in Hellfall, and it is literally just an expedition that was half destroyed.
Also, another thing about this whole Arathi kingdom is all the architecture that we see in Hallowfall, these people came from that empire. So I'm guessing that this same architecture, the art style, the really, really cool art style, actually, that I love the way Sacred of the Priory, what's it called? Priory of the Sacred Flame, whatever the fuck it's called. That dungeon, I love the way it looks. I love the entire aesthetic of it all. So if there's an entire kingdom built with this aesthetic, oh man. A whole city? I think this would be really cool to see.
So, you can imagine the mainland is absolutely crazy. In the new patch, we've learned that apparently they sent their entire army to some giant battle against outside threats, potentially out of this world, and it is entirely possible that they're essentially like the Light Army, just based on Azeroth. So, the point is, these guys are very devoted to the Light and understand it much more than we currently do. They seem fanatical, they seem very powerful. Now, some like Firin, for example, don't seem to like the Empire that much. She feels like they threw her into a war from a young age, as you can obviously tell from her appearance, and she seems to lean more towards our alliance and horde and the way we live. However, I don't think the Empire is really that tolerant, and personally, I think they plan to come back for their homeland, which is pretty much everything from the Arathi Highlands to Quotalas, and this is all obviously super relevant, hinted in the recent stuff. First of all, in the Season of Discovery, we got a crazy, kinda out of nowhere, unexpected update to the Ashbringer and its origin, potentially related to the Emperor. We got a brand new instance of New Avalon.
Right, yeah, he's talking about Season of Discovery and all this stuff going on. Now, Season of Discovery, it is supposedly we're discovering things that have actually happened previously in WoW. It's not a separate timeline or anything like that. So, interestingly enough, yeah, that lore does happen to be relevant. So, all this new Scarlet Monastery lore, all of this new Ashbringer lore, why would Blizzard be bringing this up? Maybe because they plan on making it all very relevant in the coming expansions for the retail version of the game.
Later seen in Rat. However, we've learned that this new Avalon is actually an ancient holy site for the light from the old Arathi Empire, and also the port is literally called New Avalon, while these Arathi humans are likely based on Avaloran. So Avaloran. So it is entirely possible that the
if you don't know, Avaloran is the name of the continent on the other side of Azeroth.
Scarlets somehow are related, or they have communicated with these guys. Furthermore, at the end of Dragonflight, Scarlets got kinda out of nowhere insane powers where they were able to transform into light monstrosities, proclaiming that the light will purge our stain from this world. However, let me now get into the new patch, which is 11.1.7. So I've explained the storyline so far. Essentially, the faction of the Arathi want to go back to the old days. They want to reclaim the old human empire in all of its glory. They're calling themselves the Red Dawn. This is a new organization filled with former members of the Syndicate, Defias Brotherhood, and of course, none other than the Scarlet Crusade.
Syndicate, Defias Brotherhood, and the Scarlets. They come together, and what do they have in common? Hatred of the other races. So that's going to be a very loving and hugging kind of group, this new Red Dawn. We'll see what they get into. There is no other side of Azeroth. Yeah, it's flat. Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah, maybe it's just going to be on the edge of Azeroth, because every planet is flat, right? Of course. Like, this should be in retail. They're splitting the population. I do wish the Scarlet Monastery raid was in retail. I wish at least, and I've asked for this for quite a long time, and I know it would take some work on Blizzard's part, but if they could give us a Scarlet Monastery Mythic Plus season, oh my god, I would play the shit out of that. I would love to go back to the Scarlet Monastery and play it with new content or new loot, I guess, to be had from that thing. Oh man, it would be so good. I just love the Scarlet Monastery and everything about it. It's aesthetic. It's just it's so classic and quintessential. Wow, I freaking love it.
Crusade. Their goal
Maybe
is to
one day.
cleanse the Horde from their lands, to restore human superiority, and to restore the fabled Arathi Empire. All of this, and the fact that this organization was just formed, seems like they're setting the ground for the Emperor, and it really does feel like there is going to be a split with these new Arathi within themselves, where some might not want to participate, and these guys will be led by Farron. Farron here, despite being one of these new fanatical Arathi, seemed to side with us. She doesn't like the Red Dawn. She's still fascinated seeing their original homeland, the famous Thoradin's Vol. However, the real dialogue here comes when she talks with Dana Trollbane at the end. She talks about how she was a little bit naive, believing that the Empire was much more glorious, and then it says that she is the future of the Arathi. Then she says, and keep in mind, Mirren is the leader of this Red Dawn, she says perhaps a new dawn is not what Mirren wanted, but us returning here for our people. Dana Trollbane then says, I hope you're right. So right off the bat, I mean, this is obviously confirmation that the Arathi plan to come back to their original homeland at some point in time, and I feel like this point is going to be very, very soon, as the upper eastern kingdoms are going to be super relevant, and we know that the light is going to come here to battle the void in the big new invasion, so all of this is probably midnight content. As we've learned from Farron,
I agree that this will be relevant in the midnight content, because yes, the upper half of the Eastern Kingdoms is basically going to be the focus of that expansion, with really Silvermoon. I personally still say this. I think Silvermoon's going to be the capital city of the midnight expansion. They're not just revamping it, they're rebuilding it, as I said before, from the ground up. So for them to put that much work into a city that's just faction locked, I don't think is going to be the case. Silvermoon being the place where all the elves reunite, that's the whole storyline behind Midnight. There's we got two elven factions on the Alliance. We got the Void Elves and the Night Elves. They're obviously going to be allowed to come to Silvermoon if all the elven tribes are going to unite. So that all happening, Alliance races being allowed to come to Silvermoon, to me makes it the capital and the focus of that expansion. The rest of the Eastern Kingdoms around it is also getting a bunch of love, including what we know as the Arathi Basin right now. So yeah, that story will be relevant, but as I said before, I think these seeds are being planted for what is to come after the Last Titan, actually.
The new Arathi are obviously very familiar with their homeland.
New elven race.
I don't know
about that.
Holy sites and the like. And you would imagine when the Emperor himself comes and finds out that the part of the land is controlled by orcs, the other by undead, the other by Vorgen he had never seen before, he might become very, very pissed. Now, as I said, we've learned that these guys are super powerful, very likely going to different planets. So no, these guys are not your Scarlet Crusade 2.0. I somehow feel like this Red Dawn might know all about this, and the Scarlets know all about it as well, and they just want to set the ground until the Emperor comes. Personally, the way things are being set up make it seem like the Arathi Empire will splinter, and some will want to join the Alliance and the Horde, while the others might want to restore the human and elven supremacy to these lands, to reform the original Empire, and this could create a whole lot of new interesting storylines. Of course, at this point in time, it is still too early to really know anything for certain. It is definitely possible that the Emperor could turn out to be a good guy, but I don't know, somehow based on what we've learned, how devoted light these guys are and everything, I don't feel like that is going to be the case. The only thing I can see happening is maybe the Emperor siding with us, because we will be battling the Void, so that might turn...
Yeah, we might see the Emperor come in as a good guy, because we both have a common enemy in the Void to at least start with Midnight, and then later on his fanaticism turns on us. That could be the case. The Red Dawn is sus. Yeah, they're sus. They're freaking made up of 3 of like the most racist groups to exist in World of Warcraft. So yeah, the Red Dawn is certainly sus. We'll get those troll half-breeds. Oh, you're talking about the Horonir. The Horonir, but I call them the Horonir. Yeah, we're probably going to get them as a playable race, maybe in the next patch or the next season of this expansion. We'll see. But yeah, they'll be probably cross-faction. They're not going to be faction-bound, so they're not that exciting, honestly.
Away his gaze from reclaiming the former lands. However, despite this being a minor storyline in 11.1.7,
the Naga could be
it is 100% a setup for Midnight and upcoming content. Thanks for watching. Check out the new Zeldas form that was actually revealed in the new cinematic in the patch by clicking on the screen, and check out my history channel for more videos, also clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Yeah, cool video. I personally love where the lore is going. I think one of the strengths of the War Within so far is the lore and where it's taking everything. It's been fun to watch it all kind of grow, and a lot of it is ancient lore. It's lore from the original days of WoW, so it's good to see it all getting fleshed out. I'm excited for that. I feel like the Naga should be playable, you're saying, Cody? They could be. In Midnight, we know that Ajara is coming back as one of the elven races, right? So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Naga do, in fact, become playable. We've already seen, the whole thing was putting armor on Naga forms and everything. I mean, if they give him like a Visage form, maybe, or something like that, it'd be very easy for them to implement. I mean, we have already seen Drakthir don't really wear armor, so that's not a problem anymore in WoW. They could bring the Naga back and have their armor not really be able to be equipped in a lot of ways below the waist down or something. We'll see. Potential playable races, all kinds of stuff coming, and all leading into a WoW2, as I said before, or a WoW, I don't know what you'd call it, 1.5 or something for the other side of Azeroth. Cool video from Doran.